on, intro. It's intro time. Shush. Everyone shut up. All right. I think we're going to move on to our next story. We're going to be talking about Harry Potter. You guys, this is going to be a fun one. I think we're going to have
The
some...
resemblance is uncanny.
They look exactly the same. They just
Same person.
It's the same.
You need to tell corporate what's the difference in these two photos.
They're the same. They're the same photo. So here's the news, guys. So Harry Potter it's been announced that that Harry Potter and Max Studios has put forward an offer to Pepa Essiodu. I'm sure I fucked that up, and not intentionally, but I'm sure I fucked that up, to play as Professor Severus Snape in the Harry Potter series coming out. Now, maybe he is the most talented actor in the world, but on the race swapping thing, I've been like more receptive to it in like some of our more recent conversations about this. I think this one is probably the biggest sign that this is actually not a good faith attempt at casting. I'm not convinced. I think this was definitely an attention grab. I think they absolutely had...
Well, it's not confirmed.
No, I know.
There's talk.
It's just an offer.
So,
it's just an offer that's been put forward.
This is like the first story of casting coming out of the show that everyone's kind of looking forward to. And you said that it'd be a faithful adaptation of the books.
Yes. And then you have and then you have people with the argument I've seen in the chat, in the comments on X, that it's like, show me where in the book that it says that this person's white or this person's black. And then Ryan Kinnell lists off like, here's all the characters we know are black in the series. Here's all the characters we know that are white in the series. Source and reference. And it's like,
Snape is probably one of the most described characters in the book. He's described multiple times.
Yeah.
Like your art.
I'm looking at the definition right now.
Yeah.
Tall, thin man with greasy, shoulder-length black hair, a large hooked nose, sallow skin, and cold, dark eyes.
Yeah, I can't unsee the resemblance. It's uncanny. It's like, this is like, oh my gosh. First off, do we really...
You tell me who wasn't described with nappy hair?
With this casting choice, it's like you can't, if they cast this character and people were like, if they cast this actor as Severus Snape and they had that description, which thank you for pulling that up, Matt, really appreciate that. If they cast this actor and then people are like, oh yeah, you could see him, he's super greasy, and people are like, you racist? He's not greasy. He's just bad. He's just really good. You can't call a black man greasy. I was like, you called the black man greasy. You put him.
Everyone would be calling James Potter and his friends like racist for bullying him as a kid, whatnot.
Well, I think actually, so Ryan Kinnell, famous YouTuber, talks about pop culture conversations. He was a huge inspiration for some of the stuff we've done on the channel. We really love his work. We love his involvement with all the fellowship projects that they've been doing with Geeks and Gamers, Nerdrotic. Here's what he posted. So if this ends up being a real story, fuck this entire show. The whole point of doing this series should be so you can adapt it to be as close to the books as possible. If Snape is white, Dean Thomas, Lee Jordan, Angelina Johnson, Kingsley Shacklebolt are black. The books are beloved by millions of people around the entire world. There is no reason to change them, period. I think, like, in previous episodes, Matt, you've made the case that it's like, if it's a better actor, and we talked about that with the story around How to Train Your Dragon and the asteroid race swap. And I mean, this one, I'm not willing to like say is good faith. This one, if this is legitimate, it's absolutely, because we knew that we also talked about the Harry Potter casting call and the diversity note they had in the bottom of the casting call. And we know that Max has been very ambiguous and agnostic about the racial lines of characters in this story. And that's not, you can't build a good faith adaptation if you're literally erasing the settings, the experiences of the characters, and trying to mix and match them in a brand new way to tell your own version of it.
Well, race swapping characters in this story vastly changes like histories and how the story kind of progresses.
Yeah.
Like if you do it with Hermione, there's a shitload of stuff that would be looked at wrong, and they'd have to switch around. Like her being called Mudblood all the fucking time. That would be a goddamn problem.
Exactly.
Fuck.
Mug,
I didn't even think about that.
like
Yeah.
Muggle is already
She's trying to free the house
Already a
elves and
slur.
whatnot.
yeah. So it's like there are connotations of not race, but like cultures. Like and I actually don't know if it's culture is even the right word, but yeah, the existence of, you know, the Mudbloods, then there's the existence of the Muggles, and then there's the Wizarding World. There's already a huge divide between all of that, from its superiority complex that the Wizarding World has, where they either feel like they need to be quiet and live their life in avoid the Muggle world experience, make sure that they don't that they don't encounter magic, and then all the interactions that stem from that. I mean, and then you
Well,
have
I mean, you got like Dino reviews right here. He says they'll be shocked if the Weasleys stay ginger in the show because
Yep.
you know everyone's got a huge reputation of changing every ginger character ever existed to a black person.
they
But
like
if you change the Weasleys, you got the poorest family in the Wizarding world and just swap them all black.
well, and you said it here. Like Ryan on December 4th says, "Can't wait till we find out James and Sirius actually hated Snape because they were fucking racists." Like that's the that's the thing. It's unavoidable. Like it's if you are going to remain loyal to the story while changing all of these extra facts about the setting, about the plot, about the characters, you will have all of these brand new interactions that will make no sense, and you can't avoid narratively. You can't avoid what this post specifically cannot be avoided if James and Sirius are bullying Snape. It will have to be brought up and talked about in the later seasons when you find out about it. Like it has to be. There's no way to narratively avoid this unless you're just going to leave that stone untouched, which we know that no one in Hollywood could possibly avoid making that argument if they created it themselves. They are creating the actual racism that they say they're fighting. It's like this is
I bet the Malfoys stay white.
Malfoys will, yeah, the whites are the bad guys and the blacks are the good guys, obviously in Hollywood. I
In 90s UK at like a boarding school. Yeah.
I mean, I understand that some of the casting calls can be good faith. I think it's far less common than identity politics and tokenism being put into shows. And this one I think kind of snaps me out of that idea and puts me back into it. I'm not at all convinced now that this stuff is still good faith anymore, or it could be good faith.
I mean, it's just
it could be a money grab, but it's like, okay, so people are like, I didn't see myself as I don't see myself in this movie argument. I was like, I didn't see myself as Snape. Why are you seeing yourself as Snape?
That's just all narcissism.
It is. It's absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, Dino reviews. I'll be shocked if Weasley stay ginger in the show.
I loved Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon as a kid. It's like I didn't see myself in those characters. You don't have to.
Well, and so you have like one of the arguments we've talked about is I don't remember the book specifying race, skin color of any of the characters, and then Ryan and other people are saying no, you should just reread because you obviously didn't catch it.
You've only watched the movies.
The temperature check argument. So Henry Jones Jr. on X says this could just be a temperature check by Warner Brothers. Hard doubt. Warner Brothers is spectacular for stepping on the banana peel and running into a Lego and blowing themselves up all at the same time. They really
like to peg themselves.
Yes. They do not make any. They have not made any successful business moves of note in recent history that I can remember off the top of my head. So it's
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter. I mean, if it's
Penguin,
stop it. You guys both need to stop correcting me. You guys need to. No, I'm just kidding. But the Penguin, yeah, the Harry Potter. Well, Harry Potter is to be seen. We will have to wait. But are you talking about the OG Harry Potter?
OG, yeah.
Yeah. So that you're right.
They're doing all this too soon.
Well,
like the the movies aren't that old. That's why I think it's just a money grab. Like they're trying to do
Well,
this series.
everyone that grew up with them are like in their 30s now, and they have kids, and so
Yep. Well, and
I
we
don't know.
knew from conversations around J.K. Rowling that, you know, she's pretty far to the left as well. It's the only reason she ever comes off as not that is because of her position on trans issues. Otherwise, she would be the kind of entity you would expect to make these changes or push for these changes herself. So, I mean, I think her involvement in this seems to be that of a person of authority or in heavy influence. So, I mean, maybe it's her. Maybe it's her pushing the needle on this. And if she comes out and says, "Hey, all of my books are like all of my books, these characters can be changed. It doesn't like it's ultimately what I intended was going forward for the Harry Potter story to be told in a more diverse way. So that's kind of my mission." Okay, it doesn't actually get rid of all of the plot issues that you are going to have by creating this web of changes, but I mean, I still respect the original creators when I talk about like Game of Thrones, when I talk about Lord of the Rings, when I talk about Harry Potter. I respect the original creators and their intent when it comes to their own storytelling. But I think in the same vein, I'm not obligated to rewatch Harry Potter as a TV series if you're going to make these changes that are obviously about identitarian politics. So, I mean,
No, I want a good adaptation of the book because there's so many things in the books that the movies didn't have time to really go over. So 7 seasons, 7 books, be great if it was done right. But
yeah,
I don't have a lot of faith in any. Yeah,
Harry
nowadays.
Potter multiverse is what's going to happen here.
Oh,
yeah.
true. Oh man, they wouldn't be able to stop themselves. But I think further down the line here, I'm not going to go too far, but here's the correct casting choice. Adam Driver would have been amazing as Snape in this series. Maybe he's too expensive and they couldn't afford him. Maybe he doesn't want to commit to an 8-year project. But he is the correct choice. He's the high caliber, talented actor they would need in a role like that. He actually resembles Alan Rickman.
He's got the voice for it.
He's got the voice for it. There is a correct choice here, and
There
maybe
might be a stipulation that J.K. put out though, like she did when casting the movies, that they have to be British.
Swappus Blackus. That's a funny one from on X Professor Sorg. That's a good one.
What was the one I've been hearing? It's like Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince of Bel-Air or some shit.
That's a good one. I like that one the most, I think, so far. But yeah, Adam Driver, like if they have to be British, yeah, fair enough. If they have to be British, wow, that seems like a little bit of an arbitrary one.
They've already kind of announced who they're talking to play Dumbledore.
Yep,
and everyone's like, have Gary Oldman do it because Gary Oldman wants to do it. And they're talking to some other dude. I'm not sure who it is, but
well, and I understand there's like a politics to like casting as well. In some cases, it's who you know, who has the better manager, and who has the better, or not manager, but agent.
Well, I mean, Gary Oldman played Sirius Black in the movies, so it's like it's not like him and J.K. or whatever don't know each other. Or whatever.
Right.
He doesn't have no in.
Right. That would be actually kind of cool casting to have him come in. That would be kind of cool.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, if you took every project that just ignored the fandom on like their desired pick for casting choices, you would be looking at the entirety of cinema. Like cinema, I don't think there's ever been a circumstance where a fan choice for a casting has ever been put to the forefront. Maybe Henry Cavill, but
I was going to say Henry Cavill.
Yeah, and I think even Henry Cavill's like, I don't think that the demand for Henry Cavill being in certain projects was because of fan demand. It seems like the fans reacted positively. It's the chicken or egg. I don't know which one comes first. It's the fan demand for him to be in a project, or him being in a project made the fans happy. So, but I could see either being as likely as the other. Like Witcher, I think would be a good one. I think Witcher, because obviously he loved the Witcher project, and so maybe I'm remembering it that Henry Cavill was a fan pick for that. Obviously with
I think it
Warhammer,
just got announced, and then it was like, oh, and by the way, Henry Cavill's playing Witcher, and then the whole internet was like, fuck yeah.
well, and same with
I think that's how
Warhammer
it goes.
40K, Henry Cavill's steering the ship on that one. Like Henry Cavill's going to be producing, directing, starring, right? Like it's not like
I don't know about directing, but like showrunner.
I'm pretty sure he's directing. I could be. We'll look
It's
in.
on a hiatus, and we don't know much about it anyway.
Yeah.
Right now, so.
Every article I'm seeing about the Warhammer project is Henry Cavill fights with Amazon executives on new Warhammer project. I'm just like, source? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? I've seen a billion articles coming out saying Henry Cavill's pissed off at Amazon. He's gonna quit. I was like, you have like, what are you fucking talking about? There are whole channels that just put out like a weekly video about that, and I'm so pissed off because I cannot find their sources, and I cannot. They don't reference their sources. They're just pulling it seemingly out of thin air. Yeah, I'm.
Again, just clickbait.
Yeah,
But Alan Rickman is to Snape that Hugh Jackman is to Wolverine. Like I will just always see Alan Rickman in my brain when someone says Snape.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, I was rereading the books, and all I could picture was
Alan Rickman. Well, and his I mean his cadence, his like the way he carried himself in the show.
Read it as his voice too.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
Slow and methodical.
yeah.
All the way down to Harry Potter puppet pals, you know?
If anything could,
Right.
like, I don't think this happens very often, but if we could get like the audition tapes for this, just to see like, hey, what don't we know that we would benefit from knowing? I would love to know if this guy performed such a stellar impression of Severus Snape that they're going to give him white face in order to pull this off. I would love that to be the case, but I mean, we're never going to
Good
see.
work.
We're never going to see the audition. We're never going to see the audition tapes. That's not. That's not even that. It's unlikely. It's almost impossible. So we're never going to know what the studio knows, except that I think they got this like choice, and they were like, fuck the fans. They don't care. Fuck Alan Rickman. Fuck the Harry Potter like lore accuracy and like good faith storytelling.
We're making this for a modern audience.
Well,
Real
and
quick,
yeah.
I just looked up who auditioned over Snape.
Mhm.
So Tim Roth was supposed to be Snape, but he turned it down, which led to Alan Rickman. And Tim Roth, now that I looked up his name, I have seen that dude in a lot of
Oh
different.
yeah, he's in everything.
Yeah.
Oh,
He would have been an interesting Snape.
that could have been really good. Yeah, he's brilliant. He's brilliant in a lot of projects. I had to look up the name just to make sure I was thinking about the right person. But yeah, he could do a good job. I don't think he's. I mean, he was
He's probably too old now.
Well, who is the?
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know who this other guy is. This Papa Eliu. I'm not doing it in
He's like a stage actor,
Elliot.
classically trained stage actor.
Oh my god, are you fucking kidding me? Like that's.
If you're British, you might know him from some shows, but I can't remember what the hell they were.
Okay. Honestly, like obviously none of the children or actors who were in the OG Harry Potter like movie saga were huge names at the time that was being cast. I don't unless there's older actors in that series.
Older actors, yeah.
Maybe
but-
some of them. But obviously none of the cast who stuck around the whole time were big name actors, but I mean, it's
Well, I mean,
but
so, Richard Harris died.
right.
He couldn't stick around.
I guess I more meant the kids. I more meant the kids as like the main cast. I mean, obviously like Dame Maggie Smith, Alan Rickman.
She's dead.
Yeah,
He's dead.
yeah.
Hagrid's dead. Robbie Coltrane.
Was this show like the
original
Death
Dumbledore's
Touch?
dead.
Was this show the Death Touch? Like what is happening? They're all
No, they're just
dying.
old.
Yeah, they are. They're old. That's true. Well, they're not any older now. Right? It's like,
Their bones are.
their bones age. I
Right.
think so I think Ryan.
The mom of the Weasleys is also dead. If I'm correct on that.
Oh,
So
A
the
lot of-
mom?
the Weasley mom.
The Weasley mom.
Yeah. I don't know
might be
that
wrong.
I don't know that she's dead. Maybe she is. I think the sentiment from Ryan here is legitimate. But I think like Warner Brothers, HBO Max, J.K. Rowling are committing so hard to this show. It's going to be like Rings of Power, where it's going to be impossible that this show dies. Like they're going to financially invest everything into this show, and it
They
won't.
can't. It's Warner Brothers. They don't. They're in debt. They can't do it like Prime can.
Well, Warner Brother. I mean, I'm pretty sure. I need to double check this. Rings of Power is a Warner Brothers IP now.
Oh, she's still alive. Never mind.
Can you check?
What?
Can you pull that up, Cody? Is Rings of Power Warner Brothers IP?
No, Rings of Power is Amazon.
No, that's the studio hosting the show, but but Warner Brothers owns the IP for
Okay,
Rings of Power.
they butchered the rights to like Lord of the Rings and all that shit. So like everyone's got like snippets of it. No
R-
one's got like the whole thing.
Right. But okay, hold on.
Amazon has the rights to some appendices.
Okay, but Warner Brothers
And
is
some of
detached
the
from
Silmarillion, maybe.
Okay, but Warner
And Warner
Brothers is
Brothers
detached
owns
from Warner Brothers is detached from the project entirely.
Yeah, they have
Okay.
nothing to do with it.
That's what I was trying to get at. I was like, I thought they were involved, but okay. But yeah, Max is, I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, well, I guess it kind of matters in the sense that like Amazon has infinite money. I think that was maybe your point, that they can keep burning money with Rings of Power and keep producing that show until it just dies organically. But
Third season still hasn't been announced.
I think I saw a news article on that today.
Hasn't been announced.
Maybe, I don't know. I wasn't really looking at Rings of Power season 3 in my purview right now. But the Warner Brothers with Harry Potter, even if Warner Brothers couldn't put every dollar they have behind the show, HBO Max can. Max can keep that show running if they wanted to. I mean, Max has canceled other failing projects before, but a project like
Wait.
this.
Did you just separate Warner Brothers from Max? Like they're two separate things?
Well, I'm saying that I'm basically trying to make the case that I don't think Harry Potter is going to end on season 3, even if it is a failure. If it's a financial failure, I'm not convinced that they will still end the show. That's my point. That's my point. The nuances of which studio and what like director act, like what cast is moving around, I'm not engaging with that nuance in the position that I still think that they are going to invest into this such that we are going to see an ending of the show. And I don't think it'll be a premature one. So that's
I disagree, but whatever. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we should probably let them get through casting before we make that prediction, I suppose. I should probably... You were saying, Matt? I cut you off?
Just time will tell.
Mm-hmm.
Time will tell what happens.
All right. We got some time left over. Let's move on. I think we were going to have one more conversation for this episode today. And this one's more of like a palate cleanser for 2024. Just to set the context here, I was looking through our comments and our chats on previous episodes of the podcast and just getting just engaging with comments on the video. And I got a sentiment from the audience that these culture war issues, everyone's overreacting to some of these problems that keep being brought up in the social media space, and everyone's blowing certain issues out of proportion. I was completely unconvinced by that argument, and I actually believe that there are 3 types of people in the culture war, regardless of which media apparatus you're talking about, whether it be comic books, whether it be movies, television, video games. Regardless of which one you're talking about, I think there are ultimately 3 categories. There are the left, there are the right, and then there are the agnostic. The agnostic on the issue tend to be the ones who are making the claim that, why do you care so much? It's not a big deal. You're blowing this out of proportion. I have a huge issue with that argument, such that it's not even really an argument. It's just condescending and stupid. You're involving yourself. You're jumping in the middle of something that you obviously claim to not be passionate about, and yet feel obligated to involve yourself anyway. And you're just saying that one side of the argument should not be bringing up the concerns that they have. That's all you're saying. You're never going to convince anybody on the left that their projects here are actually bad faith adaptations. And just to kind of clarify kind of what we're talking about, if we're talking about this is an opinion article from That Park Place, The Soul of Storytelling and Why Modern Films Fail to Resonate. You have a culture war going on right now that obviously is divided, and you have people who are very pro race swapping. They're very pro identitarian politics in the show, pro modern audience.
No. They're very pro race swapping a certain way.
Yes. Yep. Good.
If it
Yep.
goes the other way, then they'll lose their shit.
Well, good yeah.
Absolutely no.
Good clarification. But you have all of these things that we've been complaining about for some time, and I thought that it'd be good for us to just have an unscripted. We're not really talking about any specific article right now or any specific story. We're just going to have a conversation about where are we with the concerns and complaints we have about these industries in 2024 going into 2025. What are some of these issues resolving themselves? Are some of them getting worse? Are we going to see our ideological opponents like concede ground in any way? Or where are we? What are our concerns? And do we see an end to some of these arguments in the entertainment industry? So just to clarify, so I'll start with my thoughts on this. My main concerns in entertainment are that storytelling is not the main focus. It's pushing of the idea of wokeness. And just for definition's sake, I categorize wokeness, and I think I'm not alone on this. It's the praxis of identitarian ideology. Your race, your sex, your gender, these are what matter as an identity to you. And all things must be represented equally in all aspects, even at the sacrifice of good storytelling, good narrative consistency, and faith and a good faith adaptation of old lore and old storytelling. I think
it was like what they were doing with She-Hulk. They had the opposition in their minds so badly while they were writing that show that they made internet's what they call them chuds the main villain of the fucking show.
Yeah, exactly. And
so it's obviously got into like storytelling. It's not
you can't
not writing stories for story's sake. It's just
and you have people who defend the behavior who will say that it doesn't exist at all. That the idea of race swapping in a fictional universe is just a creative choice by the writer or the director, and it actually has nothing to do with it shouldn't be looked at. You shouldn't even have a concern with that. You shouldn't see it as a bad faith adaptation. You shouldn't see it as impactful to the story. And it obviously is. It's unavoidable that you're going to make these changes, and then you're going to have to narratively navigate around that. If your position is that like a person who's black has a entirely different life experience that white people couldn't understand, and you're going to tell a story from that perspective, you're making your own art. You're making my argument for me. You're making my argument that it obviously matters to you, that it obviously will impact the story because you are literally changing the story. And it's obviously done because your religion of wokeness dictates that you must have equal representation in everything, regardless of its impact to the final result of your projects. It's your cult. It's your religion. Now, what I would love is for shows that have, like, especially adaptations. Lord of the Rings is one that I'm very passionate about. If you take this fictional universe of Middle Earth and you want to change everything about it such that female dwarves don't look like female dwarves anymore, and like orcs have families and they are not the malicious evil entities that Tolkien wrote them to be, and you have
Goth, what are we gonna do about my baby?
well, and love interests between characters who have almost no business ever meeting. You have, and all of this stuff, like the retellings and the inserting yourself as some important person in the storytelling ethos for these adaptations. Like, it seems to be a complex where if you take an IP and you're responsible for telling it, you're not even attempting to hide the fact that you are just going to tell your own story and use this as a mask. It would be better faith. It would be more creatively honest for you to take your story and create your own work than to take a work of someone who has built a beloved franchise like Lord of the Rings, like Halo, like the DC universe, like Marvel, like Star Wars, and just leave them alone and create your own new thing. If
The problem with the properties though already have a built-in fan base. So you're gonna get viewers or readers,
There's a
or whatever,
financial incentive.
regardless.
There's a financial incentive to adapting them. Then you have that same. Then in that experiment, you have two choices you can go. You can pull from the roster that you've been pulling from, these Hollywood writers who have failed at every turn, who have gone to a writer's strike to prevent AI and make sure that they remain relevant while they continue to fail. You can keep pulling from that pool of creatives, or you could reach out to people who are actually in love with these universes and want to maybe contribute, but mostly tell a good faith adaptation. You look at the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic sequel and that they were trying to put out, and the original leader of that project said that she had never played and despised the original game. You have creators who are in all of these different works that say they have an anxiety or an animus towards the original work. Dungeons and Dragons was recently in the news because some of their creative directors were shitting on Gary Gygax over and he can't defend himself. So it's like, so they're shitting on the original creators of these works. They have no business being in a place where they actually hate the original creator of the project. You have no business being there. You don't deserve to be there. Just now I'm using deserve as a statement, like I can be the judge and jury on who deserves to be a part of which projects. But I would say that if you have a story you want to tell, it's better for the entirety of the creative universe in the real world that you create your own story and stop telling your story through these IPs that already exist. That's my biggest issue with 2024 was that we have Rings of Power doubling and tripling down. We have all of these bad faith adaptations of Batman, such as like the Cape Crusader specifically. I want to talk to. You have Velma, which was literally a shit on the audience show, and with its season 2 and finally being canceled. You have all of these IPs and more. You have Halo season 2 getting canceled, or Halo getting canceled after season 2 and being a bad faith adaptation. That's my biggest complaint, is that I love these franchises, these universes. I love them. I grew up on some of them, and I recently got invested in some of the amazing stories that we have. And now the people who are in charge of the projects not only don't want to continue the legacy, but they attack the legacy from their positions, their newly formed positions of power. And I have an absolute hatred of people who do that. I think that it's bad in almost every context. Financially, it makes no goddamn sense.